Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the strength you use to hold on is actually the very thing preventing your brain from healing? You see, we have been conditioned to believe that holding on is an act of bravery, that it is somehow a testament to the depth of our character and the purity of our devotion. We romanticize the weight of our emotional baggage, right? Labeling it as loyalty to the past or honoring what once was. But there is a thin, dangerous line between a heart that remembers and a brain that refuses to evolve. In our culture, we often view our persistence as a shield, but in reality, it functions more like an anchor. This is the illusion of strength. We tell ourselves that if we just hold on tight enough, if we refuse to forget the pain or the person, we are somehow protecting our identity. Slightly more firm, we treat our trauma like a sacred relic, believing that letting go would be a betrayal of our own history. But from a psychological perspective, this strength is often a sophisticated neurological trap. Our brains are survival machines, and they can become addicted to the familiar, even if that familiar is painful. We find ourselves caught in cognitive loops, revisiting old wounds and rehearsing past arguments, convinced that this mental rumination is productive. We think we are solving a problem, but we are actually just reinforcing the neural pathways of our own suffering. If this relentless grip we keep on our history isn't the noble act of love we've been told it is, then we have to look deeper. Gravely, we have to confront a chilling possibility that our refusal to move on is causing a silent, physical transformation within us. Whispering softly, if holding on isn't a sign of power, then what is it actually doing to our biology? Pause. What is the hidden cost of this strength on the very chemistry of your mind? Ladies and gentlemen, when we speak of a broken heart, we often treat it as a poetic metaphor. But your body knows better. Contemplative, it feels the weight of these ghost memories, not as a story, but as a real, physical burden. Inquisitive, have you ever noticed that specific tightness in your chest when a certain name is mentioned? Measured, or the way your breath catches, shallow and sharp, in the middle of a restless night. Firmly, yet gentle. You see, this isn't just sadness. Deeply, it is your biology reacting to a phantom. Inside the complex architecture of your mind, a small, almond-shaped structure called the amygdala is working overtime. This is the command center for your survival instincts, right? Solemnly, its only job is to detect threats and keep you alive. Philosophical. But here is the tragedy of the modern human condition. Your brain struggles to distinguish between a physical predator and a psychological one. Vividly, to your amygdala, the memory of a lost relationship or the stinging regret of a past failure is a tiger in the room. This is what we call the amygdala hijack. Sympathetic. While you are trying to go about your day, your brain is stuck in a state of high alert, flooding your system with cortisol and adrenaline. So really, you are living in a state of perpetual exhaustion because your mind is fighting a war that ended years ago. Directly, you are just overthinking. You see, you are being held hostage by a survival mechanism that doesn't realize the danger is past. Physical pain you feel, the heavy limbs, the racing heart, the mental fog, it's the cost of keeping your guard up against a ghost. Your body is staying prepared for a fight that will never happen, and a flight from a memory you simply can't outrun. But why? Why does the brain choose to stay in this cycle of pain? Why would our own minds prefer the agony of the past over the peace of the present? To understand that, we have to look at the strange way our neural pathways prioritize familiarity over freedom, even when that familiarity is destroying us. Because while the weight of these memories is heavy, there is a secret payoff your brain is receiving that you might not even be aware of. What if the very thing causing you pain is also the thing your brain is using to keep you safe? Gentle, measured tone. Ladies and gentlemen, we often mistake our inability to move on for a testament of our devotion. Softly, reflective, we tell ourselves, we convince ourselves that the weight we carry is proof of how much we loved or how deeply we care. Solemn, philosophical. But if we look beneath the surface of our emotions and into the biology of our minds, we discover a much harsher truth. Firm, direct. Holding on is not an act of love or loyalty. It is a state of neurological hypervigilance. Slow, heavy. When you refuse to let go, your brain is essentially trapped in survival mode. Analytical, yet calm. The amygdala, that ancient part of your brain responsible for detecting threats, is constantly firing, right? Intense, focused. It views the absence of that person, or even the resolution of that memory, as a danger to your identity. Concerned, cautionary. In this state, your mind is working overtime, treating a memory like a predator that must be monitored at all costs. Whispering, poignant. You aren't just remembering the past, ladies and gentlemen. You are maintaining a ghost. Thoughtful, slow. Think about the sheer amount of cognitive energy required to keep that ghost alive. Weary, empathetic. Every replay of an old conversation, every what if, and every moment spent wondering what they are doing, it's a massive drain on your mental battle. Salt. Tragic. You are diverting you away from your passions. You're just a shadow from big. But the moment you finally let go, a profound neurological metamorphosis begins. The amygdala softens. An energy that was once consumed by vigilance is suddenly diverted back to your prefrontal cortex. Inspiration. This is the front-line mode of the human brain. You see? But this is where your logic, your creativity, your ability to envision a future reside. Measured. Be sure to. You see, you are using the person or the memory by letting go. You are simply reclaiming the massive amount of cognitive energy you are using to sustain them. Oh, gentle realization. This is an aha moment. The realization that the peace you've been seeking wasn't something you had to find, but something you had to stop preventing. Slime softly. When the prefrontal cortex takes the lead, the world looks sharper, colors seem brighter, and for the first time in a long time, you are actually present in your own life. Serious, clinical, yet empathetic. However, even when your mind understands this truth, your body might still feel like it's in withdrawal. Because as it turns out, letting go isn't just a psychological shift, it's a chemical detox. Specific coping hormone that might be trying to sabotage your progress without you even realizing it. Ladies and gentlemen, you see, we must understand that moving forward,
truly moving forward is not a passive event. It is an intentional act of architecture. To navigate the chemical withdrawal that follows a major life shift, we rely on what I call the 3 pillars of rebirth. These are not merely exercises. They are the blueprints for your new foundation. The first pillar is neural auditing. This is the practice of scanning your history, really looking back and identifying the specific memories that still hold a physical charge. You see, the brain often stores the past right in the tissues of the body. When you think of a certain person or a specific moment of loss, does your chest tighten? Does your breath become shallow? This is a somatic response, a signal, that the memory is still live within your nervous system. Firmly but calm. Neural auditing allows you to look at these moments and acknowledge the physical sensation without letting it spiral. By naming the sensation, you begin to decouple the memory from the involuntary pain response. The second pillar is narrative externalization. You see, as long as your story stays trapped inside your mind, it is processed primarily by the emotional centers of the brain, where it can loop indefinitely in a cycle of what-ifs. However, the moment you put pen to paper and write your story down, you engage the logical prefrontal cortex. You are essentially moving the data from the emotional brain to the analytical brain. You are taking the chaos of your feelings and turning them into a sequence of events. Once the story is outside of you, it no longer has the power to define you from within. It becomes a chapter in a book you have already finished reading. The third pillar is sensory grounding. When the mind wanders back into the darkness of what was, you must pull it back into the light of what is. You do this by focusing on current physical textures to signal safety to the brain. Whispering, touch the cool surface of a desk, feel the weight of your feet on the floor, or notice the specific grain of the fabric on your sleeve. Firmly, this sends a direct, undeniable signal to your amygdala. You are safe. You are present. You are here. Ladies and gentlemen, practicing these pillars, it is the ultimate ritual of self-respect. It is the moment you stop being a victim of your biology and start being the author of your future. But even with these tools in hand, there is a final hidden barrier. It is the reason why some people can do all the work, follow every step, and still feel a lingering sense of emptiness. It turns out, there is a void that appears the moment you are truly free. And if you don't know how to navigate this silence, you might find yourself reaching back for the very pain you just escaped. Slowly, with weight. That void you feel, it's not a lack of meaning. No, it is the silence of a battlefield after the war has finally ended. For so long, you see, your brain has been a fortress, constantly on guard, perpetually replaying the scenes of what was lost. When you finally stop fighting, well, the sudden silence can be terrifying. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the very moment your soul begins to breathe again.
Think of your mental energy as a finite currency, right? When you let go, you are not losing a piece of yourself. When that ghost no longer occupies your cognitive space, something remarkable happens. The cognitive load that has been slowing down your processing power for months, or perhaps years, is suddenly lifted. This is why, after a true release, people often report a sudden burst of creativity, or a clarity of vision they haven't felt in a lifetime. You start to notice the nuance in a conversation, the vibrant colors of a sunset, and the quiet rhythm of your own breath. Details that were previously drowned out by the noise of your internal struggle. This is the true payoff of the release. It is not just the absence of pain, but the presence of possibility. You transition from a state of survival to a state of becoming. You realize that your identity was never defined by the weight you carried, but by the strength you found when you decided to put it down. You are no longer a museum of past hurts. You are the architect of a new reality. We often carry our past like a heavy anchor, fearing that if we drop it, we will drift away and be lost. But in reality, dropping the anchor is the only way the ship can finally sail toward new horizons. As we conclude this journey today, I want to pose a question to the thoughtful souls listening. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were to perform an audit of your heart today, which memory, which regret, or which ghost are you finally choosing to release? Which piece of your energy are you reclaiming for your future self? Please, share your reflections in the comments below. Your courage to speak your truth might just be the map someone else needs to find their way out of their own dark. If this exploration of the mind has resonated with you, I invite you to join our community of growth. Warmly, subscribe to Mindscapes Explored, and let us continue this journey into the depths of the human experience, together. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care of your mind and take care of your soul.